It's been a year?
No. Well, yes and no. I feel like, oh my god, it's been a year. And then I'm like, so much has happened since then. Like, so much.
Do you ever want to go back to LA?
Never again. I never, ever, ever want to go to LA ever again. Nothing good happens in LA.
I guess you gotta thank,
no,
like...
that's joking. I'm joking, but...
Yeah, but thank Karen for being there. Because we had this talk, like,
I texted
2 weeks
Karen.
before that. I was in Williamsport.
I know. I texted Karen and I was like, I'm always gonna remember you. I was like, anytime I think about this day, I'm always gonna think about you too. That's what I told her. I was like, thank you again for literally saving his life. And like we tell her all the time, she's like our angel on earth, because I really think that, you know, she really was like, no, Bobbio, you need to go to urgent care. It was freaking scary.
I promise I won't do that again.
Thanks. I never want you to do that again.
Okay, let's go eat dinner. I love you.
Alright, love you too. Good Lord.
Yep, that's my eye. In the picture, I'm looking left, but my left eye can't move that way. I suffered a subarachnoid hemorrhage. I have blood in my brain, sitting on my optic nerve that's preventing my eye to move left. What caused it? Well, we have to go back the day before, September 14th. My coworker and I, Karen Loftus, we were heading to Los Angeles to cover the Saints taking on the Los Angeles Rams that Sunday. We landed in LA, decided to get some lunch. Here's Karen.
We headed out there and, you know, preparing for the workload ahead and sort of settling into LA, and things sort of took a turn. I guess it was it was Saturday night.
Karen went to go interview Regis Prograis. He's from New Orleans. He was getting ready for his next fight and training in LA. So Karen went to go interview him while I was staying back in the hotel watching some college football games. And I was waiting for my friends from Cox Sports Television, Paul Boron and Mike Neighbors, because we were going to head down to Anaheim to watch the Angels take on the Tampa Bay Rays. And while I was waiting for them, I decided I was going to watch some college football games, and sitting down, I just put my hands just like this. And that's when I felt something in the back of my head. It felt like I pulled a muscle or something to that effect. So I took some leave, I laid in bed, waiting on Paul and Mike to land so then we can head to the baseball game. Once they landed, I picked them up and I drove the over 1 hour drive from LA to Anaheim to get to the ballpark. Here's Paul and Mike on that experience driving to the ballpark.
You just kept commenting about how you had a headache, and, you know, I mean, there was nothing alarming in any way. You know, it was just, you had a headache. Hopefully it was going to go away by the time we got to the stadium. And then when we got to the stadium, that's really, when we pulled into the parking lot, to me, that's when all the dominoes started to fall.
Part of it was, I think sometimes when you're sick, but you're excited about doing something, you kind of compress the sickness because the excitement takes over a little bit. So maybe that was part of your mindset. But then after a while, the state that you were in, I don't care how excited you were, it was going to take over.
I was going back and forth from my seat to the bathroom, throwing up. And at one point, I could not watch the game. I was closing my eyes like this because of the lights and then the music that was blaring. I just could not concentrate and watch the game. And I just remember, like, I don't think I'm going to be able to watch this. I kind of want to capture the moment. So I took my phone and I kind of did this move right here where I just closed my eyes and then just snapped a picture. Hopefully it'll be perfect and that's what you see. And after that, Paul and Mike said, "We gotta go."
Oh, you were like kind of moaning, kind of talking almost like gibberish, like mumbling to yourself. And neighbors is looking at me like, "Now, is he okay?" I'm like, "I don't know."
That drive was a long drive, but it must have seemed 10 times that long. It's almost like during the pandemic, 8 months ago seems like 16 months ago. When you're in that situation, it's never ending. And every little interruption, every little bump you hit is just magnified.
Once I got to my room, I called Ashley. I told her what was going on. I went to go get a cold compress, put it on my head, and then just fall asleep. The next morning, that's when everything changed. I opened my eyes, opened up the curtains, and I'm supposed to see LAX. And LAX looks like this to a normal person. But to me, it looked like this. My vision was completely out of whack. And I remember running to the bathroom and I took a selfie to see if my eyes were like crossed. Went downstairs, I ate breakfast like this so I can just see the plate of food. I remember taking a shower, kind of closing my eyes. And then I went downstairs with all my gear to meet Karen so we can head to the game.
I just remember being like, okay, look up an urgent care. Just Google it. We're going. And at least we can find out if it was whatever it was. Because at that point, I mean, I had no idea what it was. I just knew that the symptoms you had, I remember you had your sunglasses. And I was like, well, let me see your eye. And it was like not looking. They were both not looking at me. And I was like, okay. So whatever is going on, we need to figure out and at least know.
Went to urgent care, sat in the waiting room. It was me and another guy. And then when my name was called, I sat in the room and then I decided to take a video this time to see like what was going on with my eyes because this double vision was kind of freaking me out. The doctor at urgent care said, listen, you seem like you have a migraine, but then you also have something else that I really can't diagnose right now. So I want to get it right so we have one diagnosis. I can't do that here. You have to go to the emergency room because they have the equipment that could see what I fear that it might be. So we get to the emergency room. Karen drops me off. I fill out the paperwork in the emergency room. Then I go in to see the nurse. She takes my vitals and then she goes over what the urgent care doctor said. And then she said, well, we're going to do a lot of tests on you. So if you want to tell your coworker to go ahead and go to the game, because you're going to be here for a minimum of 5 hours. So I told Karen, like, I'm going to be here for 5 hours. So just go to the game.
So I'm pulling in and I pull like down into the parking garage and I get into my parking spot. And I think that's when either you or Ashley called me and said, this is serious.
Doctor came in, he opened up the curtain, and he said, Mr. O'Shields, you have blood in your brain. And that's pretty scary to think about. When the doctor says you have blood in your brain, and he says, there's two things I can tell you. One, if it stopped, we can treat it, you'll be okay. But if it's still bleeding and blood is still going into your brain, you could die today. At that moment, I thought about Ashley, I thought about James, and I thought about the child, our second child, that's about to be born in February, that I wouldn't be able to hold him or her. I told everybody in that room, please give me 5 minutes so I can call my wife to tell her what's going on and that I love her, because I didn't know if that was going to be the last time I was going to talk to her. And then after that, they put me in an ambulance to the ICU unit in Cedars-Sinai, and that's when they gave me the proper terminology of what I had, a subarachnoid hemorrhage.
And I was asking all of the questions. I was like, Fabio, I know you're my coworker, but we have like crossed the line here where I am like all up in your medical business. So I'm going to ask all the questions about what can we expect? What does this mean? Okay. And I remember it was like the longest like notes thing I've ever done on my phone. And I just sent the whole thing to Ashley.
Here's the scary part about subarachnoid hemorrhage, or SAH. I was reading this in Medscape, And it says, even though mortality rate of SAH has decreased in the past 3 decades, it remains a devastating neurological problem. An estimated 10 to 15% of patients die before reaching the hospital. Approximately 25% of patients die within 24 hours with or without medical attention. Hospitalized patients have an average mortality rate of 40% in the first month. About half of affected individuals die in the first 6 months. That right there, when I read it, scared me. All right, it's been a year, so what has changed in a year besides my health and my outlook in life? Well, after I was cleared in November to drive, a month later, I left television. I left WGNO. I took another job I currently work at, working from home because of COVID-19. Bought a new house because we have a new addition to the family, because in February we welcomed a baby girl, and she is growing up fast. And before I know it, I'll be walking her down the aisle for a wedding. But she's beautiful, and she loves James. Gosh, she loves James. And another health thing, in March, I tested positive for the coronavirus, so I had to be quarantined for 14 days away from Ashley, away from the kids. So that's crazy enough in itself. Everything that's else happened in my life, why not just go ahead and throw coronavirus? I was fine. I didn't have to go to the hospital. I did take the test. And to me, I thought, I had a 104.3 temperature. It'll be negative. I only had it for one night. Took the test. A couple of days later, came out positive. So I quarantined myself, and everything's good. Everything's A-okay. Working from home's great. Being home with the kids, great. We're in football season right now, or what we call a football season. And I'm home. I'm home on Fridays. I'm home on Saturdays. I'm home on Sundays. And I get to be with Ashley and the kids, running around playing, dodging a couple of hurricanes here or there. So we're good. Life is good. And the future of the vlogs, I don't know what the future of the vlogs is. I think the vlogs are I guess they're going to be over. No, they're not going to be like they were when I worked in television. They're not going to have the behind-the-scenes aspect. So I might do a different spin on the vlogs. I might just make them videos. I know that there's a lot of videos that I still haven't published. The last one was SEC Media Days. That was July of 2019. I went to Little League World Series, World Champs. I went to Texas for the LSU-Texas game, and then, of course, LA. And then after LA, getting back to recovery, going to Alabama, first road trip since my injury, and then traveling with LSU from SEC Championship game to Joe Burrow. My last assignment, Joe Burrow winning the Heisman Trophy. And that's about it. I might throw in some family videos here or there, and some trips if we ever get back to traveling again after it's all said and done. But the vlogs that I've done the past 3 years, I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe not, but I don't see it happening. But leave that door slightly cracked. So yeah, it's been my year. It's been a wild and crazy year, and hopefully this will be the last time I talk about subarachnoid hemorrhage, or even have a subarachnoid hemorrhage. And I thank you guys, all of you that have called, texted, left me a message telling me that you're praying for me, you're thinking of me, and dropping food off for Ashley and the kids while I've been out, and doing this whole deal. And I appreciate it a lot. And hopefully I'll see each and every one of you, and I'll give you guys a real hug besides a virtual hug. That being said, yeah, thanks. Love you guys. Talk to you later.
Say I'm acting crazy, but I just wanna lie in the sun. Whoa, I just wanna lie in the sun. Yeah, lie in the sun.